The stars looked different from this far out. Captain Lisa Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the USS Phoenix and watched the unfamiliar patterns. After 6 months in deep space, the constellations of Earth had given way to new arrangements that still felt strange to her eyes. The Phoenix was Earth's first true deep space research vessel. It represented the best technology humans could build, enhanced by what they had learned since first contact 15 years ago. The ship wasn't large by Galactic Confederation standards, just under half a kilometer in length, but it carried the hopes and dreams of an entire planet eager to join the wider community of spacefaring species. "Captain, we're picking up a ship on long-range sensors," said Paul Dixon, the young officer at the communication station. His voice carried a note of concern that made Rodriguez turn away from the viewport. "Identification?" she asked, walking to the main bridge. "Vargon patrol vessel, Drekar class. They're hailing us." Rodriguez nodded. The Vargon were one of the older species in the Confederation, with territory that bordered this sector. They had a reputation for being territorial and strict about their borders. But according to all the navigation charts and treaties the Phoenix had access to, they were still well within international space. "On screen," she ordered, straightening her uniform jacket. The view screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the Vargon ship. The commander was tall, with scaled skin in shades of green and gold. Yellow eyes with vertical pupils regarded Rodriguez coldly. "Human vessel," the Vargon said without introducing himself. "You have entered a restricted zone. Turn back immediately." Rodriguez kept her expression neutral. "This is Captain Lisa Rodriguez of the Earth research vessel Phoenix. According to Confederation charts, we are in unrestricted space conducting scientific exploration under Section 7 of the Interstellar Exploration Treaty." The Vargon's scales darkened slightly, a sign of irritation according to the cultural briefings Rodriguez had studied. "Your charts are outdated. The Vargon Empire claimed this sector last cycle." From the science station, Dr. Alan Foster spoke up. "Captain, our charts were updated at Confederation Outpost 47 just 3 weeks ago. There's no record of any territorial changes." Rodriguez nodded slightly to acknowledge she'd heard him. Foster was the ship's lead xenobiologist, brilliant and passionate about building peaceful relationships with alien species. He had been one of the strongest voices pushing for humanity to join the Galactic Confederation. "Commander," Rodriguez said, "we have no record of any territorial changes. If you can provide official documentation of your claim, we'll be happy to review it. Until then, we are continuing our scientific mission as planned." The Vargon commander's hood expanded slightly, another warning sign. "You will withdraw or face consequences. Humans are new to space. Perhaps you do not understand how things work beyond your small world." "I understand treaty law," Rodriguez replied firmly. "We have every right to be here. If you wish to file a formal complaint, you may do so through proper Confederation channels." The communication ended abruptly as the Vargon cut the transmission. "That went well," muttered Olivia West, the Phoenix's pilot, not quite quietly enough. "Yellow alert," Rodriguez ordered. "Maintain course, but keep shields at ready. Let's not provoke them, but we're not turning back without proper cause." Dr. Foster approached the captain's chair. "Lisa, the Vargon are known for being hierarchical and face-conscious. They might be testing us to see if we'll back down." "I'm aware, Alan," Rodriguez said. "But if we give in to every false claim, we'll never get anywhere in the galaxy. The Confederation accepted us as members 2 years ago. That comes with rights, as well as responsibilities." Foster nodded. "I agree. I just want to make sure we're prepared for their response. The Vargon don't like being challenged, especially by newcomers." "Sensors show the Vargon vessel is powering weapons," called out Security Chief Ben Martinez from his station. "Shields up," Rodriguez ordered. "Open a channel." Before communications could comply, the bridge rocked violently. Red emergency lights flashed as damage reports began streaming in. "Direct hit to our aft section," Martinez reported. "They're firing again." The second impact was worse. Rodriguez was thrown from her chair as power fluctuated throughout the ship. "Engineering reports critical damage to life support," West called out. "We're venting atmosphere in sections 12 through 17. "Return fire?" Martinez asked, his hand hovering over the weapon's controls. Rodriguez pulled herself back to her feet. No, record everything. Send emergency signals to any Confederation outposts in range. She hit the ship-wide communication button. All hands evacuation protocol, get to emergency pods. This is not a drill. As crew members rushed to their evacuation stations, Dr. Foster headed not toward the escape pods, but toward the science lab. Alan, where are you going? Rodriguez called after him. The sensor data on their weapons, he called back. I need to make sure it transmits. The Confederation needs to know what they're using. It's not standard Vargon technology. Another hit rocked the ship, and Rodriguez lost sight of Foster as a support beam collapsed. The next 10 minutes were chaos. Rodriguez stayed on the bridge, coordinating the evacuation as the Phoenix broke apart around them. When the final evacuation alert sounded, she and the remaining bridge crew made their way to the last functioning escape pod. Where's Foster? She asked, counting heads as the crew strapped in. Martinez shook his head. Lab section took a direct hit. He got the transmission out, but he didn't need to finish the sentence. As their escape pod launched away from the dying Phoenix, Rodriguez watched through the small viewport as the research vessel's remaining systems failed. The Vargon ship was already turning away, apparently satisfied with the destruction they'd caused. 3 days later, the survivors were picked up by a Confederation rescue vessel. The formal complaint filed by Earth was met with bureaucratic delays. When the matter finally reached the Galactic Confederation Council, the incident was classified as a regrettable misunderstanding, with only token sanctions imposed on the Vargon Empire. Dr. Alan Foster was declared dead, along with 14 other crew members. His final transmission, containing detailed scans of the unusual weapons the Vargon had used, made its way back to Earth's defense forces. The Vargon representative to the Confederation made a brief statement expressing regret for the loss of a life, but maintained that the Phoenix had violated their territorial waters. The matter, as far as the Confederation was concerned, was closed. But on Earth, as military and political leaders reviewed Foster's final transmission and the dismissive response from the Galactic Confederation, something changed. A line had been crossed. 1 human life, 15 human lives had been deemed expendable in the grand scheme of galactic politics. Earth would not forget. And the galaxy would soon learn that humans responded to the loss of their own in ways no other species had anticipated. 6 months passed since the destruction of the Phoenix. On the surface, Earth seemed to accept the Confederation's ruling. Diplomatic channels remained open, trade continued. Earth representatives attended Confederation functions with polite smiles, never once mentioning the Phoenix incident. But deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility known only to a handful of people, Admiral Grace Kelly of Earth's Unified Defense Force gathered the team that would change humanity's standing in the galaxy forever. They think we're weak, Kelly said, addressing the small group seated around the oval table. The Admiral was a tall woman with short gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. They think we'll accept their explanation and move on. They've made a critical error. The room was filled with an unusual mix of people. Military officers sat beside civilian experts, scientists next to hackers. All of them had been chosen for their unique skills and absolute loyalty to Earth. Operation Grim Reminder begins today, Kelly continued. Dr. Foster died transmitting vital information about Vargon weapons technology. His sacrifice will not be in vain. Kelly nodded to her assistant, who displayed the data from Foster's final transmission on the main screen. The Vargon used experimental weapons against the Phoenix. Weapons they shouldn't have had access to according to Confederation treaties. Foster's data gives us an advantage they don't know we have. A man with thick glasses and rumpled clothes raised his hand. This was Jack Mitchell, formerly one of Earth's top video game developers specializing in strategy games. I've analyzed their tactical patterns from the Phoenix encounter, Mitchell said. The Vargon follow predictable combat protocols. With enough data, we can anticipate their every move. Next to him, Nicole Bishop nodded in agreement. She was a cultural anthropologist with expertise in reptilian species. The Vargon value hierarchy and face above all else, Bishop explained. Their society is built on the appearance of strength. If we can make them appear weak without directly attacking them, their own social structure will do half our work for us. Admiral Kelly smiled for the first time. Exactly. We're not going to fight them on their terms. We're going to fight them on ours. Over the next months, Earth implemented a plan so subtle that even most of its own government officials weren't aware of it. On the surface, Earth continued to play the role of the cooperative newcomer to galactic politics. Under this cover, seemingly innocent cultural exchange missions were sent to various Confederation worlds. These missions included carefully selected operatives from Kelly's team. Their real purpose was to gather intelligence and plant the seeds for what was to come. In a secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Samantha White led Earth's cyber warfare division. White had been a computer security expert before the Phoenix incident. Now she worked day and night analyzing the data harvested from the cultural missions. The Vargon use a standardized communication protocol across their empire, White explained during one of the regular briefings. It's efficient, but it creates a single point of vulnerability. We've identified backdoor access to their systems through their regular update channels. In orbiting shipyards disguised as civilian research stations, Earth built a new type of vessel. Smaller than traditional warships, these craft were designed based on specifications reversed engineered from Confederation technology, combined with Dr. Foster's data about Vargan weapon systems. The new ships had no conventional weapons. They didn't need them. On the one-year anniversary of the Phoenix destruction, Admiral Kelly gathered her team once more. All pieces are in position, she said. It's time to show the Vargon and the entire Confederation what happens when they kill one of ours. At precisely 0900 Earth Standard Time, every Vargon diplomatic outpost throughout Confederation space received the same message, transmitted simultaneously. 1 year ago, you killed Dr. Alan Foster of Earth. Remember his name. The message was simple, but its timing and delivery caused immediate alarm throughout Vargon space. How had humans managed to access their secure diplomatic channels? The Vargon High Command issued immediate security protocols, but it was already too late. On Mestra 4, a distant Vargon colony world, Governor Sark received what appeared to be a routine system update from Central Command. As the colony's computer systems integrated the update, strange things began to happen. First, communication with the rest of the Vargon Empire went down. Then the defensive grid powered down despite multiple failsafes. Finally, the environmental systems began to adjust, creating conditions that were uncomfortable but not harmful to Vargon physiology. When the colony's security forces attempted to restore systems manually, they found themselves locked out of their own computers. Instead, on every screen throughout the colony, the same image appeared. Dr. Alan Foster's Confederation identification, rotating slowly. Panic spread through the colony's 15,000 residents. And then, the air filled with a sweet-smelling gas. Within minutes, the entire population was unconscious. When they awoke, they were no longer on Mestra 4. Each colonist found themselves in comfortable but secure individual chambers, perfectly sized for a Vargon but impossible to escape from. Food, water, and all necessities were provided automatically. There was no sign of their captors. The Vargon Empire immediately mobilized their fleet, anticipating a full-scale human attack. But when their most elite warships attempted to engage, their faster-than-light drives, cascading system failures left them stranded in normal space. The failures appeared random, sensor ghosts, power fluctuations, navigational errors, but they all had the same effect. The Vargon fleet was paralyzed. Meanwhile, on major Confederation worlds, Earth representatives expressed shock at the news from Mestra 4 and offered assistance in the investigation. Their faces showed appropriate concern, but not a hint of recognition. "This is outrageous," the Vargon ambassador shouted during an emergency session of the Confederation Council. "The humans have committed an act of war against the Empire. We demand immediate action." The council chambers erupted in chaotic debate. Some species sided with the Vargon, calling for sanctions against Earth. Others pointed out the lack of evidence linking Earth to the events. It was during this chaos that Admiral Kelly made her move. She entered the council chamber unannounced, flanked by her team. The room fell silent as she walked to the center podium. "Distinguished representatives," Kelly began, her voice calm but carrying to every corner of the chamber. "I believe I can offer some clarity to this situation, and perhaps a path forward that benefits us all." The Vargon ambassador hissed in anger, but Kelly continued before he could speak. The next word she would say would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Confederation Council chamber fell silent as Admiral Kelly stood at the podium. Representatives from 200 species watched her with a mixture of fear, curiosity, and disbelief. The Vargon ambassador's scales had darkened to a deep emerald with rage. "1 year ago," Kelly began, "a Vargon warship destroyed the USS Phoenix, killing 15 humans, including Dr. Alan Foster. The Confederation called this a regrettable misunderstanding and expected us to accept this ruling." Kelly paused, her gaze sweeping across the chamber. "We did not accept it. We could not accept it. Every human life is precious to us. We do not forget our dead." The main screen behind Kelly lit up, showing the empty streets of Mestra Refor. The Vargon colony appeared untouched but completely deserted. "The citizens of Mestra Refor are unharmed," Kelly continued. "They have been relocated to a secure facility with full life support and environmental conditions suited to Vargon physiology. Their personal belongings are safe. Their data archives are preserved." Gasps echoed through the chamber. The Vargon ambassador rose from his seat. "This is an act of war," he shouted. "Return our people immediately, or face the full might of the Vargon Empire." Kelly turned to face him directly. "Your fleet is currently unable to engage their faster-than-light drives due to what your engineers are calling cascading system failures. These failures will continue until we choose to end them." The screen changed to show various Vargon warships, floating helplessly in space. Their mighty engines were dark, their weapon systems offline. "We could have killed them all," Kelly said, her voice now soft, but carrying to every corner of the chamber. "We chose not to. Unlike you, we value life, even the lives of those who have harmed us." The council erupted in chaos. Some representatives called for immediate sanctions against Earth. Others demanded proof of Kelly's claims. A few simply sat in stunned silence, reassessing everything they thought they knew about humans. The council elder, a Dravian whose species had been among the founders of the Confederation 10,000 years ago, raised his hand for silence. The chamber gradually quieted. "Admiral Kelly," the elder said, his voice raspy with age, "you claim responsibility for these actions against the Vargon Empire?" "I do," Kelly replied without hesitation. "And I am prepared to demonstrate the full extent of our capabilities, if necessary." She nodded to Samantha White, who tapped a command into her portable device. Instantly, the lights in the chamber dimmed and then returned to normal. The environmental systems briefly adjusted to Earth standard before returning to the neutral setting suitable for multiple species. "We have accessed the security and environmental controls of this very chamber," Kelly explained. "We could have locked the doors. We could have adjusted the atmosphere to something lethal to most species here. We did not." The council elders' eyes narrowed. "How is this possible? Our systems are protected by the most advanced security protocols in the galaxy." Dr. Foster's final transmission contained more than just weapons data, Kelly said. It revealed fundamental weaknesses in Confederation security architecture, weaknesses we have exploited over the past year while you dismissed us as primitive newcomers. Kelly turned to the Vargon ambassador. "Your attack on our research vessel revealed something you didn't intend, that many Confederation species, yours included, have been violating technology-sharing provisions of the Confederation Charter for centuries." The screen behind her displayed complex schematics and data streams that few in the chamber fully understood. Those who did understand them grew visibly uncomfortable. "We want 3 things," Kelly continued. "First, formal recognition that the attack on the Phoenix was unprovoked and unjustified. Second, proper reparations for the families of those lost. Third, guaranteed research rights in all regions covered by the Interstellar Exploration Treaty, With no exceptions, the Vargon ambassador hissed. You cannot make demands of the Empire. We have existed for millennia before your species even discovered fire. Kelly smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. And yet here we are. Your colonists remain comfortable but contained. Your fleet remains disabled. Your secure communications remain compromised. Age does not equal wisdom, Ambassador, nor does it guarantee victory. The council elder called for a brief recess. Representatives huddled in small groups, whispering urgently among themselves. The Vargon delegation stood isolated, their usual allies suddenly reluctant to stand with them. When the session resumed, the council elder addressed Kelly directly. What assurances do we have that human infiltration of our systems will end if your demands are met? You have my word, Kelly said simply, and a demonstration of our restraint. We could have done far worse than we did. The elder nodded slowly. And the colonists of Mestra 4? Will be returned safely once our terms are met. The debate continued for hours. Some representatives argued that giving in to Earth's demands would encourage other species to take similar actions. Others pointed out that the humans had shown remarkable restraint, considering the provocation they had suffered. Throughout it all, Kelly stood calmly at the podium, answering questions directly and without evasion. Behind her, White and the rest of her team monitored their systems, ready to counter any attempt to capture or harm the Earth delegation. Finally, a vote was called. By a narrow margin, the Council agreed to Earth's terms. The Vargon delegation stormed out in protest, but with their fleet disabled and their colony held hostage, they had little choice but to eventually accept the decision. As Kelly and her team prepared to leave the chamber, the Council elder approached her privately. You have changed the balance of power in the Confederation today, he said. Not through superior numbers or weaponry, but through intelligence and restraint. That is unexpected. Kelly met his gaze steadily. Humans value peace, Elder, but we value justice equally. Remember that in your future dealings with Earth. The Elder's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought among his species. The Vargon will not forget this humiliation. Good, Kelly replied. Neither will we forget our dead. The difference is, we don't seek revenge beyond what justice demands. As the Earth delegation departed, word of what had happened spread quickly throughout the Confederation. Species that had dismissed humans as diplomatic and technological novices suddenly reassessed the threat Earth posed. The Vargon, facing unprecedented humiliation, began a top-to-bottom review of their military and political strategies, and in a secure facility known only to Admiral Kelly's team, 15,000 confused but unharmed Vargon colonists waited to return home, each one living proof that humans fought differently than any species the galaxy had encountered before. In orbit above Earth, construction began on a memorial to the crew of the Phoenix. At its center stood a simple statue of Dr. Alan Foster, his hands outstretched in a gesture of peaceful greeting. The plaque at its base read, "One life, one too many, never forgotten." 1 week after the Confederation Council meeting, the citizens of Mestra 4 were returned to their colony. They arrived in small groups, transported by unmarked ships that appeared and disappeared without a trace. Each colonist was examined by Vargon medical teams and found to be in perfect health. None could remember anything about their captivity except comfortable rooms, good food, and the constant image of Dr. Alan Foster. The Vargon Empire was in chaos. The public humiliation at the hands of humans, a species they had dismissed as primitive, had shattered the careful image of invincibility their leaders had cultivated for centuries. Military commanders were demoted. Government officials resigned. The captain who had fired on the Phoenix was publicly tried and sentenced to exile. Across the galaxy, perceptions of humans changed overnight. Species that had viewed Earth as a curiosity now looked at humans with new respect, and in some cases, new fear. In a small meeting room on Earth's lunar base, Admiral Kelly met with Earth's newly appointed representative to the Confederation Security Council. Frank Adams was a career diplomat with silver hair and a calm demeanor that hid a sharp mind. "The Security Council," Adams said, shaking his head in wonder. A position usually reserved for species with at least a millennium of interstellar presence, and we got it after less than 3 years. Kelly smiled slightly. We earned it. Through fear, Adams noted. Through demonstrating capabilities no one expected, Kelly corrected. And through showing restraint when we could have chosen destruction. Those two things together earned us respect. Adams nodded thoughtfully. The Vargon delegation still refuses to speak to us directly. They will eventually, Kelly said. Their empire is built on appearances. Once they rebuild their facade of strength, they'll engage with us again, carefully. And the back doors into their systems? Into the Confederation systems? Kelly's expression turned serious, closed as promised, but we've learned what we needed to know, and we've kept enough knowledge to protect ourselves if something like this happens again. On the other side of the galaxy, in the Vargon Imperial Palace, a very different meeting was taking place. High Commander Vrex, newly appointed after his predecessor's disgrace, addressed the Imperial Council. How did they do it? Demanded one counselor, slamming his clawed hand on the table. How did a primitive species barely out of their gravity well infiltrate our most secure systems? Vrex's scales shifted to a pattern indicating caution. We underestimated them. All of us did. We saw their technology and assumed their minds worked like ours. Explain, ordered the Empress, her voice cold. Most species develop along similar paths, Vrex said. Technological advancement proceeds in predictable stages. But humans... He paused, searching for the right words. Humans think differently. They approach problems from unexpected angles. He activated a display showing images of human history and culture. They spent thousands of years fighting each other before achieving unity. Most species either destroy themselves in such conflicts or emerge as completely peaceful. Humans found a middle path. They value peace but maintain the ability to fight. Another counselor hissed softly. Are you suggesting we should fear them? I am suggesting we should understand them, Vrex replied. They value individual lives in a way we find difficult to comprehend. The death of a single researcher was enough to mobilize their entire species. The Empress leaned forward. And yet they harmed none of our people when they had the chance. Precisely, Vrex said. They wanted justice, not vengeance. That distinction is important. Back on Earth, life began to change as the implications of the Mestra 4 incident spread throughout human society. Investment in space technology increased. Cultural exchange programs with other Confederation species expanded. Educational programs placed new emphasis on xenobiology and interstellar diplomacy. In a classroom in Kenya, a teacher showed her students images of different Confederation species. Before the Phoenix incident, many species thought humans were interesting but primitive, she explained. Now they see us differently. A young girl raised her hand. Are they afraid of us now? The teacher considered the question carefully. Some might be. But fear isn't what we want. Respect is what matters, respect for our rights and our values. Like how we value every person, the girl said. Exactly, the teacher nodded. Every life matters to us. That's something special about humans that the galaxy is just beginning to understand. 3 months after the Confederation Council meeting, a Vargon diplomatic vessel entered Earth orbit. It was the first official contact since the crisis. The ship's captain requested permission to send a single representative to the Phoenix Memorial. Security was tight, as the Vargon diplomat made his way through the memorial garden. He stopped at the statue of Dr. Foster, studying it silently for several minutes. Then he placed a small crystal object at the base of the statue, a traditional Vargon symbol of acknowledgement of wrongdoing. Earth's new ambassador to the Confederation, Rose Carter, watched from a respectful distance. When the Vargon diplomat turned to leave, she stepped forward. Thank you for coming, she said simply. The Vargon diplomat bowed slightly. The Empire recognizes its error. The attack on your vessel was unjustified. Carter nodded. And we recognize that the Empire has honored its commitments under the Council's ruling. The Vargon hesitated, then spoke in a lower voice. There is something my government wishes to know, Ambassador. How did you do it? How did you bypass our security so completely? Carter smiled. Perhaps someday, when trust between our peoples has been rebuilt, we can discuss such matters. For now, let us focus on moving forward. The Vargon diplomat left Earth that same day. His report to the Imperial Council was brief but significant. The humans are willing to begin anew, but they have not forgotten. They never will forget. Across the Confederation, other species began to study humans more carefully. They analyzed human history, human conflicts, human values. They found a species full of contradictions, capable of great violence, but also great compassion, technological innovation alongside emotional attachment, logical thinking mixed with intuitive leaps. The Drek, a species of philosophers, published a widely read analysis. Humans value the individual in ways most species reserve for the collective. To harm one human is, in their minds, to harm them all. Yet they choose justice over vengeance when they have power. This combination makes them unique among known sentient species. 6 months after the resolution of the crisis, Admiral Kelly retired from active service. At her retirement ceremony, she was asked what she considered her greatest achievement. "We showed the galaxy that humanity will not be dismissed or mistreated," she said. "But more importantly, we showed them who we really are. Not just what we can do, but how we choose to use our abilities." In the years that followed, the story of the Phoenix, Dr. Foster, and Earth's response became something of a legend throughout the Confederation, a cautionary tale about underestimating newcomers, and a powerful reminder that technological advancement was not the only measure of a civilization's strength. As one Confederation scholar put it, "They killed one human." Earth's revenge stunned the galaxy. But what truly changed the balance of power was not the revenge itself, but the restraint that came with it. 5 years passed since the Phoenix incident. Earth had grown into its role as a full member of the Galactic Confederation. Human ships now traveled freely through sectors that had once been restricted. Human scientists worked alongside researchers from other species on projects that benefited all. Frank Adams had served as Earth's representative to the Confederation Security Council for 3 years. In that time, he had earned a reputation for fairness and clear thinking. Other council members often sought his opinion on complex matters, valuing the human perspective. On a cool spring morning in Geneva, Adams stood before the newly built Galactic Relations Center. The gleaming building of glass and stone would serve as the main point of contact between Earth and other Confederation species. Thousands of people gathered for the opening ceremony. 5 years ago, Adams began his speech. "A human research vessel was destroyed and 15 of our people were killed. We responded in a way that surprised the galaxy." The crowd was silent, remembering. That day changed how the Confederation sees humans. But more importantly, it showed us who we are and what we stand for. Adams gestured to the line of flags representing Confederation member species. The Vargon flag flew among them. "Today we open this center not as newcomers seeking acceptance, but as full partners in the greatest alliance of species in our galaxy. We bring with us our unique human perspective, our creativity, our determination, and yes, our fierce protection of every single life." In the front row, Admiral Kelly sat beside the families of the Phoenix crew. The years had softened her features somewhat, but her eyes remained sharp and watchful. She had declined offers of political positions after her retirement, preferring to advise from the shadows when needed. Beside her sat Dr. Olivia West, the former pilot of the Phoenix and one of the few survivors. West now headed Earth's Xenobiology Institute, working to better understand the biology of other species. After the ceremony, Kelly and West walked together through the memorial garden that surrounded the new building. At its center stood a copy of the statue of Dr. Foster that had been placed at the first memorial. "Do you think they truly understand us yet?" West asked, looking up at Foster's face. Kelly considered the question. "Some do, some never will. The important thing is that they respect us enough to try." On the far side of the galaxy, changes were happening within the Vargon Empire as well. The shock of their defeat at the hands of humans had forced a period of intense self-examination. Younger Vargon challenged traditional thinking. Military doctrine was revised. Even their rigid social hierarchy began to show signs of flexibility. High Commander Vrex, who had risen to become the Empress's chief advisor, met with a group of young officers fresh from a cultural exchange program on Earth. "What did you learn?" Vrex asked them. A young female officer spoke first. "Humans appear chaotic at first. They argue openly with their leaders. They change their minds. They follow different paths to the same goal. But there is strength in this. Chaos." "Explain," Vrex said, echoing the question the Empress had asked him years before. "They test ideas against each other, keeping what works and discarding what doesn't. They adapt quickly, and they learn from their mistakes instead of hiding them." Vrex nodded, pleased with the insight. "And did you observe how they value individual lives?" "Yes," another officer replied. "It seems inefficient at first. The resources they dedicate to saving even one person would be considered wasteful in our society. But it creates a bond between them. Each human knows the others would fight for them. And that makes them strong." Vrex concluded, "Remember this lesson well." Back on Earth, in a small apartment in Boston, Lisa Rodriguez sat at her desk. The former captain of the Phoenix had left military service after recovering from her injuries. Now she wrote books about her experiences, helping humans understand the wider galaxy they had joined. Her communication panel chimed, indicating an incoming message. The face that appeared on the screen was unfamiliar, green-scaled with vertical pupils. A Vargon. "Captain Rodriguez," the Vargon said formally. "I am Sark, former governor of Mestra for 4. Rodriguez tensed slightly. The name was familiar from intelligence reports. This was the governor of the colony that Earth had temporarily taken. "Governor," she acknowledged cautiously. "What can I do for you?" "I wish to inform you that my son begins studies at your Harvard University next month. He is the first Vargon to attend a human educational institution." Rodriguez blinked in surprise. "That's unexpected." Sark's scales shifted to a pattern indicating what humans had learned was wry amusement. 5 years ago, I would have agreed. But times change, even for species as old as mine. My son wishes to understand humans better. I believe this is wise. And you're telling me this because you were there at the beginning. Your ship, your crew, Dr. Foster. Without that incident, this moment would not be possible." Rodriguez considered this. "A high price to pay for progress." "Yes," Sark agreed. "But one that changed the galaxy for the better, perhaps. My people needed to learn. That age does not equal wisdom. Humans needed to prove their worth. Now we move forward together." After the call ended, Rodriguez looked at the small photograph on her desk. The crew of the Phoenix, smiling at the camera. Dr. Foster in the center with his characteristic enthusiastic grin. She touched the image gently. "You'd be amazed at what your death accomplished, Alan," she said softly. "And proud, I think." In the decades that followed, humanity continued to surprise the galaxy. Human diplomats became known for creative solutions to ancient conflicts. Human scientists made breakthroughs by combining knowledge from multiple species. Human traders established networks that benefited emerging worlds, and throughout it all, the story of the Phoenix incident was taught to young humans and Vargon alike, a powerful reminder of both the danger of underestimating others and the strength that comes from valuing every life. 75 years after the incident, on the planet Mestra 4, now a thriving trading hub where humans and Vargon worked side by side, a new memorial was unveiled. It showed 2 figures standing together, a human and a Vargon, looking up at the stars. The plaque beneath it read in both languages, "From one death, a new understanding. From revenge, a path to cooperation. From enemies, friends." The elderly Vargon who had commissioned the memorial watched as children of both species played nearby. He remembered being a junior officer when humans had taken his entire colony without firing a shot. He remembered the fear, followed by the strange realization that these newcomers fought differently than any species the galaxy had known before. They were right to respond as they did, he told his human colleague. And we were right to listen. The human nodded. One life, she said. That's all it took to change the galaxy. And in the great tapestry of galactic history, that was perhaps the most important lesson of all. That sometimes the smallest actions, the value of a single life, could reshape the destiny of entire civilizations. They had killed one human. Earth's revenge had stunned the galaxy, and the peace that followed had made them all stronger.